Hey everyone, welcome back to StackTrekker. In the last video, we examined the security of API requests, including best practices for protecting sensitive data and ensuring safe communication between clients and servers. If you missed that tutorial, you can check it out by clicking the link in the top right corner. It's a must-watch if you're working with APIs. Today, we're diving into a common and often misunderstood topic in API development: the difference between query parameters and path parameters. Understanding how and when to use each one is essential for building clean, efficient, and intuitive APIs. Let's dive in. To understand the difference, let's go back to the API documentation. You can see the URL I'm using on the screen, and this link will also be provided in the video description. So far, we already know how to get a list of all products. But what if we need to retrieve just a single product? Luckily, the API provides a specific request that allows us to get exactly one product. Let's copy that URL and switch back to Postman. We create a new request inside our collection and give it a meaningful name. For example, get product. If you're not sure how to work with Postman collections, check out my other video on this topic. It's available on my YouTube channel. Now, we paste the copied URL into the request and click Send. As a result, we get back a single product in the response. Now, let's take a closer look at the structure of the URL we used. The first part is the protocol. In this case, HTTPS is used for secure communication between the client and the server. Next is the domain name. This is where the API is hosted. The final part is the path. This path tells the server that we want the product with ID equal to 1. This kind of structure is an example of using a path parameter. Specifically, the number 1 is the ID of the product we want to retrieve. Path parameters are typically used when you want to retrieve, update, or delete a specific resource by its identifier. And that's how you can get a single product from an API using Postman. If we go back to the API documentation again, we can see that for the get products request, there are some additional parameters available that let us customize the results. For example, we can specify how the products should be sorted. Let's copy the URL and switch back to Postman to test it out. We'll create a new request and name it Get Products Sorted. Paste the URL, then click Send. Now we've received a list of products. Let's take a closer look at them. Since we're using ascending order by default and numbers come before letters in natural sorting, the first product we see is the one with ID 167. Its title is 300 Touring. The next product's title starts with the letter A, and the list continues alphabetically. Now, let's try changing the URL to reverse the sort order. We'll update it to use descending order, and then click Send again. Now the first product in the list is iPhone 10 because it comes near the end of the alphabet. Let's now examine the URL more closely, just like we did earlier. The path is simply products, which means we're requesting multiple products, not a single one like before. The question mark indicates the start of the query parameters. These are extra options we can add to customize the request. The first query parameter is sort by equals title, which tells the server to sort the products by the title field. The ampersand symbol, the n sign, is used to separate multiple query parameters in the URL. The second query parameter is order equals desk, which sets the sort order to descending. If we had used order equals ASC instead, the products would be sorted in ascending order from A to Z. So both sort by and order are query parameters. They let us filter, sort, and shape the data we get back from the API. If you thought that you always have to manage your query parameters directly in the URL, the answer is no. In Postman, there's a dedicated tab for that. It's called the params tab, and it's designed specifically to help you manage query parameters easily. When you open the params tab, you'll see a table where each query parameter is listed as a key value pair. You can clearly see each parameter name and its value. You can also remove parameters, add new ones, or modify their values, all without touching the URL. Remember, query parameters always start with a question mark in the URL. When you have multiple parameters, they must be separated by an ampersand symbol. If you edit the query string directly in the URL, you have to type everything manually and carefully, including the punctuation. But if you use the params tab, Postman takes care of all the formatting for you, so you can focus on what matters, testing your API. Let's see what else we can configure using query parameters. According to the API documentation, we can specify which fields we want to see in the response and also how many products we want to retrieve. Let's test that in Postman. We'll create a new request and name it Get Products Limited. Then we'll paste the URL and click Send to execute the request. If earlier we were getting a large number of fields for each product, like description, brand, category, images, and more, now we only see 3 fields: ID, title, and price. By limiting the fields, we can focus only on the most important data we need for our use case. Also, the number of products returned in the response is controlled by the limit query parameter. If you take a look at the response, you'll notice that the total number of available products is 194. However, since we set limit to 10 in our query parameters, the server only delivers 10 products. This is really useful when you don't need the full list. For example, if you're building pagination or just want to test a small sample. Plus, it helps reduce the amount of transferred data, which can improve performance, especially useful when working with large data sets or slow connections. So once again, query parameters give us powerful control over the response. Instead of getting everything by default, we can request only what we need. Earlier, we saw how to sort products and how to limit the returned fields, but we did those in 2 separate requests. Now the question is, can we combine them together in a single request? The answer is yes, absolutely. Let's do it step by step. First, go to the params tab in Postman and add a new query parameter called sort by. We'll set its value to price because we want to sort the products by their price. By default, the sorting order is ascending, meaning from the lowest price to the highest. But what if we want to reverse it? You already know how to do it. Just add another query parameter called order and set its value to desk, short for descending. Now go ahead and click Send to test it. You'll see that the products are now sorted from the highest price to the lowest. This shows how you can combine multiple query parameters to customize the response in a powerful way, all in a single request. You can mix sorting, filtering, field selection, limiting, and more, depending on what your application needs. Let's quickly review the differences between path parameters and query parameters. Path parameters are built into the URL path and are usually required. They're mainly used when you want to interact with a specific resource, such as getting, updating, or deleting a particular item. Because they are part of the route structure, the order matters and must follow the format defined by the API. Query parameters, in contrast, are generally optional and used to modify or refine a request. They let you sort results, filter specific data, limit the number of items returned, or paginate through results. You can add multiple query parameters in any order, and they're separated by a special symbol. In Postman, the params tab makes managing them simple, so you don't have to edit the URL manually. To sum it up, path parameters are used to target specific items, while query parameters help control what kind of data you get back. Knowing when and how to use each one is a key skill when working with APIs. So, to wrap it up, here's what we learned in this tutorial. First, we explored how to use path and query parameters when working with APIs in Postman. We also learned the key differences between path parameters and query parameters, when to use each one, and why it matters. And finally, we learned how to use the params tab in Postman to easily manage query parameters without having to edit the URL manually. So I hope this was interesting. Thank you for watching my tutorials. If you enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe. See you later. Bye.